Hello, beautiful people. Let's find Kyle on the call. Hello.
What's up, brother?
All good. And you?
Amazing, brother. Amazing.
Can you hear me properly?
Yeah, I can hear you perfect.
Beautiful. Man, thank you so much for being here. I'm so honored to have you here. And I just want everyone to know, how impactful you've been in my life, specifically at the beginning when I was here in Osara, and you're one of the first people I met here, and you gave me such a beautiful insights about the masculine and the feminine, and how to balance it and how to show up better for the opposite sex. So I really love that, and this is why I decided to have you here to share some wisdom, some love for everyone here listening to us. And I just would love to everyone to just close your eyes for one moment and connect with something that you're really grateful for. Maybe it's the presence of someone in your life, or maybe it's something you achieved recently. Just connect with this feeling. And as we are grateful, let's connect with one intention do we want to have as we are watching this live here? What do we want to learn? How do we want to show up? And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes and connect this live to my brother Kyle with so much wisdom. Brother, welcome to the show. Just give me 1 second because I want to turn on the hair.
Take your time, brother. What's up, all, to these beautiful people that are joining?
You go.
Nice.
We're ready. My brother, tell me everything, and let me ask you first, what is for you masculine sexuality, and how do you think a man can show up better in a relationship with with his partner?
So, I think we have to, when we talk about male sexuality, we're talking about also like the suppression and the guilt behind male sexuality.
Yeah.
Because we've essentially, been programmed through, not having people teach us and the male role models that we need from porn, right? Which is domination, suppression. It's super toxic. So we're in a space where it's important to realize that we got to kind of decondition ourselves from this toxic way of what we think is sexuality, to understand what we really are needing, which is sensuality, which is intimate connection with another person, whether it's a man or woman. So to me, that's the first understanding when we're talking about male sexuality, and the idea behind this comes in through going through so much conditioning prior to, again, going through the deconditioning. So stopping pornography, stopping to masturbate, stopping these things that are basically, causing us to think of sexuality in a certain way. And therefore we're starting to, display the sexuality with our partners in a very toxic way, whether it's projection, whether it's just a way of, being domineering in essence, and not actually connecting to our partners on a central emotional level. So, I mean, obviously we'll get more into this, but the way we can do this is actually through communication as well. So, one part is the deconditioning side. The next part for me, which has been super powerful, is when men can actually communicate consciously their ability to be vulnerable and what's coming up, but also their desires. Because what we've kind of conditionally thought is, if I express my desires, I'm going to be seen as a pervert, right? Or if I express my vulnerabilities, I'm going to be seen as this weak-ass dude where my girl's going to drop me for another guy who's stronger, right? Which are like one of some of our biggest primal fears, is this is what's happened. So for me and my own experience, and what I learned is deconditioning from this pornography state, because I realized that in essence, a lot of men just want to be held, nurtured. We want to be loved. We want connection. We want to be spooned from behind, not always be the spoon, the big spoon, So through this awareness starts to come in the conversation around communication. So conscious communication is this idea of how do I consciously express my present state of mind to my partner and to the people within my life, right? And realize the strength that's in this. So for me, over the last, couple of years to especially the last 6 or 7 months, my practice has been, to all my partners, hey, I'm going to make mistakes. I'm human, but I'm going to try my best to communicate my desires and my vulnerabilities, my strengths and my weaknesses to you as often as I can, as consciously as I can, while maintaining myself doing the work, which means I'm not projecting onto my partner. I'm expressing. There's a very big difference. Does that make sense?
Total sense. I resonate a lot with that, and I've been struggling a lot, to be honest, with relationships in the past years, especially in communicating desires and vulnerability, because of course as men we are taught that we are weak as we express vulnerability, and the same time as well as you express the desire of, for example, maybe getting sexually involved, being a pervert. So this led, of course, to being rejected in the past, and still now being fearful of rejection, being fear of abandonment. So now I would love to know from you, like, how a man or a woman can handle the fear of rejection or abandonment when it comes to expressing our desires and vulnerabilities.
Carolina, love you. Just want to shout that out.
You love you too. Yes.
So brother, it's, a lot of this, our wounding goes back to the fear of rejection, the fear of not being wanted. It's almost, understanding the base level of how we work in this human body is a primal instinct of, if I'm rejected, I'm pushed out of the tribe, and then I'm left to fend for myself, and I will most likely die. So we still have this innate understanding of, when we're rejected, not wanted, we're out of the tribe and we're fucked. This is the idea. So to understand this goes, oh wow, I understand why I have fear of abandonment. I have an understanding of why I have such a fear around rejection. So even I, to this day, will still have these things come up. And for me, one of the biggest things is acknowledging it and honoring what's coming up. So I will have a process of, when these things come up, there's a 2-stage to this. So I'll have a process of, if it ever comes up, I will say to myself, okay, so I have this thing coming up of abandonment. I have this thing of, I'm attaching my worth to always feeling like I need to be wanted. I honor these feelings that are coming up. And this is the basic understanding of mindfulness practice. So as you're honoring the process, you're taking responsibility as a sovereign being for what's going on inside you, which is super powerful. The idea is you take responsibility and radical accountability for everything that goes on within your field, emotional and otherwise. And from the stage of, rejection, whether the person wants you or not, is out of your control. But it's hyper important to be speaking your truth as often as possible. Whether the person likes you or not, you cannot control that. You can't control the outcomes of any experience or conversation, but what you can control is how you show up. then how you show up should be able to be saying, I want to be speaking my truth as consistently as possible, which is, whether it's a desire of, babe, I'm feeling so horny, I want to do these things and it feels magical and I want to say it without feeling guilty, but I'll say it in a way and create the container of, under a preface of respect and love and care. But I want to be able to say it, and if and when my partner hears me and acknowledges that in a beautiful way, amazing. If she does not, at least I'm expressing myself as I need to, because that gets
Mm-hmm.
me, now that's my work. So now in every space and field within my businesses, within my personal life, I'm able to go, hey, I'm not really feeling like doing this right now, or saying this, or speaking this, or showing up in this way. I need space, I need time, I'd like my own space. It's like a knock-on ripple effect when you start to speak your truth, whether it's desire or vulnerable based. So what I've also learned is, through the vulnerability state of communication, it's easy for me to go to a partner and say, oh, it's I felt like this and this emotion was coming up, and I feel super insecure at that point in time. But when, as a man, you're really going through it and you're at that space where you're like, oh my God, I'm so insecure right now, shit is coming up. How do you communicate at that time to the partner? That's where
Mm-hmm.
the real work comes in. So, again, to maybe give an example, that's where I sit, I acknowledge what's coming up. And then when I'm in a space to communicate consciously to a partner, not out of so much fear, but I definitely want to be speaking that truth to a partner. So she understands, or he understands, where I'm at, and they can better understand my energy process, and vice versa. Does that make sense?
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's powerful. I heard that recently, and that's very powerful in my opinion. And yes, I've been studying a lot actually to do that, because again, fear of rejection, fear of not feeling enough. So, what would be, like, in your opinion, an effective way to communicate uh, this this state in a conscious way, in a way that it feels good?
So, it's container setting, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the idea is, when you're consciously communicating, you want to be setting a container, which means you don't want to just be projecting straight onto your partner, all these things that are coming up, and your partner's like, whoa, Jesus, dude, like, where did that come from? You know what I mean? So again, I always say there's like two parts to every scenario that I work in. First, I take accountability and sovereignty of my emotional process, which is, okay, some things are coming up. I honor the need of wanting to feel needed. I honor what's coming up. I honor that insecurity. I honor that fear. And then I'll go straight into, I'm a strong, confident, successful, amazing person who is in charge of his emotional awareness and his thought process. So again, taking myself through that phase. Then when the time comes and I'm kind of a little bit more grounded, I can set the container with my partner, right? So I can go, hey, baby, I just would love to express something that's going on inside me. Do you have a couple minutes to hold space for me? Is that okay? So now I'm actually asking permission. And consent is powerful, especially in conversation, which is, yes, that person's there, but she's not automatically, or he's not automatically, dialed in to receive you all the time. So that's
Yeah.
why it's hyper important to go, for you to be fully receptive to what I'm saying, I've got to ask consent and permission. And I think it's powerful for us to get into the habit of, hey, baby, there's things going on that have happened. I've tried to sit with it a bit, but I feel like it's coming up more often now, and I would love to express it so you know where I'm at. So if you feel maybe I'm a little bit distant, this is why. So now your partner can understand, because the more information we have of each other, the better we can communicate and live harmoniously, right?
Yeah.
So, but the idea is that you don't want to be, bombarding your partner with the shit that you're going through, right?
Mm-mm.
Which is where
Yeah.
the first stage of that process works, which is go through your own process, acknowledge, be fully accountable to your own place and your own experience, and
Yeah.
then create the container with your partner where you can feel safe, you ask for permission, and then you can
Yeah.
start to express yourself. And I've done it many times where I've said, I feel hyper insecure right now. I feel like, I feel nervous. My nervous system feels on fire. I don't know why. It's maybe this feeling of I need to feel needed. And a lot of my partners would be like, well, dude, but you're like super confident. And I am a very confident man, but the idea is I want to feel safe to express these things that come up because we all feel them. So for
Mm.
me, I want to feel safe to express myself, and I would love it if my partner hears me and returns the favor, which is, hey, baby, feel free to express whatever is coming up. But I would still like to say, hey, can I set a container of 15 minutes where we can chat? Or, hey, this is what's coming up. This is the container.
Yeah.
So you see how I've created a container of safety for her, for me, and permission. So I'm not just bombarding her with my energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 I love that. I love that the gentleness on the way we can do this. And let's say, for example, let's set up a scenario like you are out with your girl, or maybe the girl is out with a man, and yeah, let's say we get activated on spot because let's say there are other people who are more, we feel like they're more attractive than us, cooler than us, whatever, and we get instantly activated. We get instantly like we have this nervous system getting activated, and we suddenly are like in this fight or flight mode or freeze.
Yeah.
So, like, what is the, in your opinion, the best way to work with it? Is it like removing ourselves from the situation and processing it and talking to the person? Is it talking to the person, or like what would be like for you the best way to go with that
I would speak out. So
immediately?
this is what I would do. You know, and with whether that so basically just to get the question right is if I see an attractive man come in and it makes me feel insecure,
No,
what
let's
is my
say in any situation when you get
any situation?
activated
Okay.
with your partner, but you're like in a social setting. And let's say you cannot immediately, let's say that you might need to
Yeah.
create a safe container once again, as you mentioned.
Okay.
So like we're talking about normal life situation. People hang out for dinner with other people, other friends, and you're with your partner, and then you get activated because of X reason. It could be anything. Like, how would
Yeah.
you go with that?
So, for me, when I get activated, so say I'm in a social setting and then I see someone and I'm like, oh, wow, that's a handsome man. And immediately, what will happen is I think as men, just to again understand the primal behavior is that's an attractive man. He will take away my partner because I feel like he's more attractive than me. So that's where the insecurity stems from. Is this, well, if he's better looking, then there's a potential that she'll leave me for him. You know what I mean? So that's that natural primal response. So understanding a lot of like our reactions and why we do stuff is huge. It's powerful because
Yeah.
it gives us an idea of, oh, this is why I act a certain way, primarily speaking. And then if it's something of a trigger, I will just own my trigger. Either I'll say, holy shit, which I often say is, that man's really beautiful. Like he's a fucking handsome ass dude. I will speak it out loud because I don't mind complimenting that person, but at the same point in time, I speak out the insecurity, not necessarily going into the full, oh my God, I'm super insecure because this dude's really good looking, but I'll say,
Hmm.
holy shit, that guy's good looking. So I'll compliment that guy as well. Many times I'll say like, bro, you got like beautiful eyes, man. You're a super handsome dude. And it eases my tension because I'm also just actually acknowledging another man in his beauty. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And that
Yeah.
acknowledgement is like a compliment because I recognize that in myself. We're all these beautiful mirrors of one another, right? So if I
Hmm.
recognize his handsomeness, I'm theoretically recognizing my own handsomeness, right?
Yeah.
So there's this understanding of a back and forth of energy where I can then compliment this guy, whether it's to my partner, I'll go like, holy shit, that dude's a good looking dude, you know?
Yeah.
And if my partner is like, and I'll be like, yeah, he's super handsome. And, the idea is I don't want to feel bad, but I don't want, I'd love it if my partner acknowledged that as well. To me, that's powerful. to be like, yeah, totally, he's super handsome. Oh, we don't have any of this weird guilt around actually expression again. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So again, it keeps the conversation open and moving without guilt, which is powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
that's how I would generally handle the situation. And if it's more like something that's consistently coming up
Yeah.
over and over, then I'll be like, hey babe, do you have a few seconds? I just want to like express some stuff. So I saw this guy, and it just really made me feel insecure, and it's potentially why I was acting a certain way, and I just wanted to let you know where I was because this was coming
Mm.
up. And it's about owning this awareness of vulnerability.
Yeah.
I'm not going, oh, woe is me, I'm vulnerable. I'm saying this is not me, but this is a part of me temporarily that's coming up based on a trigger or reaction. And I'm
Yeah.
acknowledging it and I'm owning it. And it's a beautiful thing to own it because I'm not placing any guilt around it. Or I'm not looking for you to say, oh, baby, it's okay. I have to own it fully. But it's important for me to be able to express this because
Mm-mm.
it's me releasing it. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah. 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 I love that. Do you know about the concept of mudita mindset?
Mudita? No.
Yeah. So basically, it's this idea that we are happy and joyful of other people's fortune. For example,
Mm.
you see the good-looking guy, and instead of being envious about his good lookingness or about his vibe or about it's like being truly happy and truly feel joy for this person because of the way he is, the way he behaves. And as you do that, you attract more of that in yourself. You attract more of these beautiful things.
Mm.
But what could happen for guys, and for everyone, girls and everyone, as we see someone who is cooler than us, richer than us, or more handsome than us, we start to get into this scarcity mindset. Like, he has it, I don't have it. But I think what would be like super amazing is to get into the mindset that this good looking guy being fucking happy for him that
Mm.
that he's this way.
Mm.
And the same thing with when you see people who have more wealth or people who have more um, better space or better whatever, better house or better whatever, being truly happy for them. Like, this is one of the things that I think we as human beings we should start to do that a bit more often. And
Well,
it relates with what you said.
yeah, it's should is a big word, but the idea we call it like opposition thinking. So the
Yeah,
opposition thinking is kind of in that scenario of like abundant mindsets, which is, oh, I'm super triggered by that dude because he's super handsome, and going, okay, I'm aware that this is coming up and this is a trigger. I honor that fully. It makes
yeah,
me feel a bit insecure, and that's completely okay. Opposition thinking will go, wow, essentially, I'm actually also beautiful and powerful and incredible too. I am a sovereign being in my own state. I'm super handsome as well. So it's owning that, but again, also complimenting that man as well is also beautiful because it's just a reciprocation of your own reflection. You know what I mean?
oh
So
yes,
yeah, 100% agreeing with
yeah,
what you're
yeah.
saying. Yeah.
That's so amazing. And yeah, so let's say that sexual masculinity is a bit a controversial topic sometimes because, of course, many people are not really willing to express that. So, what would be like your suggestion for you for the men listening here for people to connect better with their sexual selves and with their
So
sexuality?
so there's the idea around self pleasure. You know, And
Yeah,
for women, self pleasure can be a beautiful practice of sensuality and beauty and this way in which they, pleasure themselves with a wand or whatever it may be, and be a very pleasurable receiving experience, generally speaking. With men, it's this, aggressive, I'm jerking off and then I'm coming and this is it, and I'm done. So I feel like it's taken us out of our own pleasure. So what I felt, even out of my own experience, as I'm sure we can all attest to, is I got to make my woman come, and then I can come, and it's good. So there's this idea that I've got to achieve a certain thing, and then I can come. Whether it's pleasurable to me or not is not really the case. Eventually I'll come, and that's great. but I'm not really enjoying the experience fully because I'm not sensually connected to my woman or my partner. So what ends up happening is you focused on a goal. The goal is she comes, I come, done. Where's the space afterwards? Where's the space prior? So what I would say for men and couples, something that I think is like super powerful is don't jerk off. So we'll stop jerking off at least for a little bit. Stay away from porn. Stay away from anything that's kind of changing your mind in this way that's not helping you in a sensual capacity. So one of the biggest things is if you got a partner, you guys can practice sensual connectedness, which is basically you could be with each other, maybe naked on the bed, and just start doing massaging together. Start asking for permission for what each other like. Then take sex off the table for now. And then go into eye gazing. And then get into eye gazing. And get into things that cause a bit of touch and a bit of pleasure. So the idea that we're trying to do is we're trying to create this kind of a space and a container of sensuality, of peacefulness, of what's causing me to just relax into my body and feel what's going on with this other person, right? Instead of having this, I've got a goal to, no matter if I'm talking to a woman or whatever, it's to have sex and then that's it. And once we've completed that goal, we're done. So to engage in our own sexuality, I think we got to slow down first, right? So I can say, okay, you can go from, heavy porn to just conscious porn, but I would say maybe just stop it altogether and then start to integrate into more tantric practices, which is, and you can start to move into that. You can start to do, contact dancing. You can start to do dancing in general. There's many ways in which you can start to become more sensual with your partner or a potential partner in a way in which it doesn't lead to sex immediately. I would say you guys should make sex date number 10. Because date number 10, you're going to be so sexually charged because you're building up this point of sensuality and safety with your person. So when sex comes, it's going to be fucking expansive and exploratory. So that's understanding sexuality with a partner. Sexuality with yourself is, what do you actually like? Have you actually found out what you like when you jerk off? Do you actually jerk off by pleasuring yourself in a beautiful way? Are you exploring a bit of anal play? Or do you see that as gay? You know what I mean? So there's many different ways in which we are kind of hindered around our sexuality where it's like, oh shit, that might be too gay if I think about that, or if I want to do that, if I play with this, what does that mean? So
I can't hear you.
and therefore, can you hear me now, brother?
You have the audio there?
Yeah, I got my audio.
Okay, I can hear you. Perfect.
Okay, great. Okay. Thanks. So again, just to reiterate, brother, so the idea is that when we're doing this and we're talking about sensuality is what is our own sensuality with ourselves? How are we with ourselves? Do we appreciate our body? Do we appreciate our cock as men? It's hyper important because we have so much penis envy. We have, we're scared to be naked around other men. We have so much fear around our own sensuality and sexuality. You can imagine how that's amplified when we're with women based on our programming. So the idea is, here's also some really cool things is being naked with other men, with your bros. Feel comfortable being naked. You have a freedom of sexuality. You have an appreciation for your own, genitalia, which is so powerful. And I've learned to love my cock. I've learned to, I name him. I love him. I appreciate him so much. So I built a lot of awareness around my own pleasure, my own sensuality, which helps me project that onto my partners that I have. Because it's like being enough here is enough there, right?
Yeah.
I love myself so much, so that carries over to when I'm with a partner. Because I feel embodied, I feel great, but it takes a lot of the work of doing your own sensuality work first. How's that sound?
That sounds beautiful. I love it. So let's say that there's some people listening and they're like some some people are into relationships right now, and let's say, I mean, the concept you're talking about, it's amazing. Like I would love if everyone could listen to that. But let's say it could sound a bit taboo for someone that has no idea about all of these things. Like for me, like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, listening to that would be like, whoa, what is that? So I must believe, if you live in society where they are supposed to do that, like have sex and have a baby, and that's it. Like we're getting this wrong, in my opinion. So like, what could be like a way to communicate this openness? Because I remember, like, once I had a girlfriend that I wanted to be open about all of these things, and she wasn't, So that was a bit complicated for me then to express the invite to get them to know this practice, and then potentially practice that with me.
Mhm.
So what would be a suggestion for you? Let's say, for example, there are these couples where there is one person that is more like curious, more willing to know about sexuality, relationships, and then there is another partner who doesn't really care about that. So what would be like for you a way to invite these people into this world, since like we are in a relationship?
So, a lot of this happens same with, when one partner becomes a little bit more spiritually inclined and the
Yeah,
other's not. And
yeah,
the idea is, we don't want to go, oh, well, you don't want to join me, so I'm going to go find someone else. The idea is you want to be able to create the conversation around, dropping seeds and bringing your partner in along your journey. And that is the hope. But there's also this understanding that that might not work, you know?
yeah,
So this is where the conversation takes place. And I feel that we're in a space where we are so delabeling everything we're doing. What is an open relationship? What is, open sexuality, conscious relationships, polyamory, monogamous relationships? It's all, in my opinion, when people say, "What are you?" I say, I'm a inamooditarian, which means whatever I feel, whenever I feel, is how I act, which means, if I'm feeling like multiple partners, I will have. If I'm feeling like closing with one, I will have. But I'll communicate this with pretty much all of my partnerships at that present time. So I would say for people that where one partner is in this stead and the other is not, potentially it's because there was trauma there, or the person is just not, willing to engage in this type of awareness around sexuality or whatever it may be. I would say start the container and the communication around it, because resentment will eventually follow. So either you have the conversation where you're like, hey, babe, these are some things that I'm really curious about. I'm super excited. I would love to explore them with you. Let me know your own process and your own speed in which you would like to get into this with me. You know, it could be a relationship coach. It could be doing a tantric course, doing ISTA together, you know, doing conscious communication, conscious touch, consent workshops, which is also powerful. So there's many ways in which you can kind of, bring your partner on with you so you guys can grow together in this field, which is super powerful. But it also teaches you about your own sensuality, which invigorates you and actually transmutes energy towards your partner as well. So it actually like fires the relationship.
yeah.
But at the same point in time, you might have conversations where it's like, babe, that's not me. It's not what I want to do. You know, this is something that, I'm happy with what I'm doing now. I might not want to. And that's the conversation you have to have. So either it can now move into, well, why do we open up the relationship? Or maybe I can explore personally in this regard. And then we have our agreements and containers where we're just sexual with one another, but I'm allowed to have foreplay with everyone else, or whatever your agreements might be, right? You set that in
Hmm.
the standard, or you split up because you're just not in alignment. These are the conversations of truth that have to be had. But it all starts again with conversations and not expectations, right? So
Yeah.
it's I can't expect my partner to go, oh my God, Carl wants to have, threesomes and do all this kind of stuff, you know. But I'll
Hmm.
definitely communicate to my partner and say, hey, love, this is something that's kind of invigorating me. I'm very curious about. I would love to, potentially open it up to more people. Would this be something that you're into, right? And there's going to naturally be movement in that direction. So, if we just put it at base and go, oh, it's never going to happen. You're going to go, well, guess what? That's going to build up. And then I'm going to resent you for not letting me to do it. And then I'm going to resent myself for not actually doing it. Right? Because there's always a double resentment part. That's how it works. So the idea is communication, but then also take mild action towards, creating some resolution in the subject, right? Because if you're not moving in some direction where there's some kind of unionship or, transmutation, then one partner is going to get resentful, 100%.
Yeah. Wow, man, honestly, that is so mind blowing. Can you tell me, like, how do you think the relationship part of the world will be changing in the next few years?
Well, I think it's already changing quite a bit. So, what I hear is there's a little bit more free love now in the youth, whereas before, where I grew up and how I grew up, it was, relationship, and then my last 10 years has been much more open in terms of sexuality, delabeling everything I think is normal with a relationship. And it's progressing. It's kind of like swinging, everything's pendulum, right? So here we're like, monogamous relationships, and everyone's like, holy shit, not monogamous relationships, completely polyamorous, open concept, open marriages, the works, because people are now in touch with like, what do I actually want? Is this serving me in the best way? So I feel like we're swinging that way and we're hitting it hard, where it's just, open sexuality, enjoying everything. But while you're doing it, you can do it in a space of conscious awareness, right? So, we're going to swing and it's going to come back to some form of balance in whatever regard that looks for you. And it's going to be going back and forth. But the idea of what we're doing is we're able to do this while communicating to our partners where we're at. And that's where responsibility and accountability comes in. Because it's okay to be free and open and want 100 partners or want one partner. Whatever you're feeling and whatever you're craving, I would always emphasize, don't label it. Don't say you want this. Because you will change what you want. You'll meet someone and go, holy shit, I want to close up just around this one person. And then you'll meet someone else who will explode your mind and go like, holy shit, I want to be open with 10 people. So you will naturally be doing this throughout the relationship portions of your life. The idea is, can we communicate consciously while doing this so our partners know exactly where we're at each time? Which is, again, responsibility and accountability through communication.
I love that. But let's say, like, we're living in Osara, and Osara, those topics are really common. Like, pretty much people heard of Tantra, heard of inner child, heard of psychedelics, and this kind of thing. So let's say in Osara sounds like if you express this to a girl, or a girl express it to a man, that would be like pretty normal, pretty much, Osara. But let's say, what if we go in a city, let's say New York City or LA or London, where there's more a mix of everything. So do you think can we adopt the same mindset?
So the question is, can we adapt the same mindset of kind of the open concept of how we live here in terms of relationships and sensuality? For sure. My conversations might be a little bit different, depending on where I go, for sure. But I'm still going to have the same connections that I want to have in terms of the sensuality, the openness, the this, the that. I'm still going to communicate where I'm at. I'm still going to communicate my needs, my desires, so my partner, my potential partner, just knows where I'm at that point in time. Again, creating that open conversation of whether I'm in New York or not. And, it's, hey, this is kind of where I'm at. This is, I'm in an open space right now of connection. Oh, wow. Well, thank you for telling me. Thank you for letting me know that, you speaking your mind actually makes me feel safer. Because the more honest I am with myself and my potential partnerships, the safer they feel, because I'm speaking what's on my mind and I'm letting them know, and I don't have this backward agenda. So my relationships generally will always, change in conversation for sure, but they will always kind of follow a guideline of me wanting to connect in a more sensual way. You know, for me, I love the sensuality of wherever I am. I'm always trying to impart that safety as well with
Mm-hmm.
women. That's just my how I like to go. So it doesn't really
Yeah.
shift from place to place, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So then creating this container and this safety is all about communicating your in authentic place, like what is your true desire and what is pretty much your intention there.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. You know, intention setting is huge. You know, and something you
Mm-hmm.
can also do prior to open container,
Yeah.
before you have sex with a woman, before you know you do
Yeah.
anything, whatever you
Yeah.
want, you can actually set a beautiful intention.
Yeah.
And the intention could be, you know, you both sit together, you meditate, and you voice, you know, your wants and your desires within the next
Yeah.
course of, you know, hour, 2 hours that you're going to be playing,
Yeah.
you know, and and we could do this, we could play with that, we could open it up, you know, and actually going into what would really turn you on. Oh, well, this would really turn me on, and this would feel amazing, and
Mm-hmm.
then your partner knows, oh wow, this is something that, oh, he likes that, oh, that would be interesting, because now I'm voicing and setting intentions for my potential pleasure, and now that I'm communicating that, now my partner's more aware of what really turns me on, and then we don't have to, you know, figure this out, you know, 3 months from now. Communicate where you're at that point in time, and pleasure can be amplified.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. There is something that's coming up for me, like recently, like this whole idea. Like recently, I had this epiphany, Kyle, that is like I want to be more wise about how I spend my energy and how I spend my time, and I decided, and I would love what you think about that, to have a clear intention before I get in every interaction. Let's say it could be either with a man or a woman, like being really clear about what is my intention there. Like what is my intention here? Do I want to just connect? Do I want to create a business relationship? Am I feeling romantically inspired? Do I feel like sexual attraction? So what I wanna do now is like understanding this intention as soon as possible, and then being able to express that. So do you think that is too aggressive? Like, what do you think about this concept about being clear of the intention and expressing it, whatever that is, with honest truth and authenticity?
I love it, dude. Like, I'm a huge fan. I would rather over communicate than under communicate, you know,
Beautiful. Yes. Yes.
because
Yes.
I'm a huge, I mean, I flow like
Hmm.
you know, like a mofo. Like, I like to just flow in everything I do,
Yeah.
especially conversation.
Yeah.
But what I learned, you know, one of my Burning Man names is Flow, actually, which is hilarious. But the idea is, you know, clear communication is so powerful. You think about it from every point of view, you know, business or relationship or potential connection with someone, and be like, what is my intention with this person? And I'd love to express my intention with this person, you know? Then the person knows exactly where you're at, and you're creating this container of, you know, what this might be. And you're basically, the container and the structure behind this is just so powerful because that person knows, you know, where you're going and what you're creating this conversation around, maybe, you know.
Yeah.
Or what you could do is say, you know, flow with it and go, wow, this is a beautiful connection. I would love to drop in more with you about X. Why don't we set up a time? I would love to drop in more with you about another situation, or this topic, or whatever the case may be. Or if I have an intention with someone, I will definitely communicate this to that person. My body language will naturally kind of communicate if I'm wanting to become a little more physical with someone, for sure. But I also love to communicate, especially for men. It's important to communicate where you're at.
Yeah.
And this is something that just as a side topic, side note, for men, learning to build safety and trust with women in a very honest, beautiful way, it's important to communicate your intentions. So she or he can feel safe, and you're allowed to, you know, display your intentions and have it received in whatever capacity, and you go from there. But it's
Yeah.
hyper important to communicate this, especially in the interim of you learning how to communicate where you're at.
Yeah. I agree with that. And I'm a big fan of having a clear intention. Literally every day, every action that we are taking, there must be an intention there. And I think like if we don't set an intention and we're not clear, like we're gonna end up having random results. We're just gonna end up with having a random life, which sometimes can bring you in like interesting places, and sometimes can bring you like in really weird places. So for me, it's like being very having an intention each time, and then possibly scheduling some time where you can potentially leave some randomness there.
Yeah, exactly. It's like for me, you could go 80-20 principle or 70-30, whatever you feel. But for me, to have the spontaneity that I need in my life, I have structured through my days. So I wake up, I always pretty much do my routines every single morning. I leave Sunday open. But that creates my space. I wake up, make bed, meditate, visualize the whole shebang. So once I have that dialed, then I know, okay, my structure of my emotional and spiritual space is done. I have my meetings throughout the day. Once that's organized, then I have space to flow as I need. So
Yeah.
again, it's creating the balance. So with the intention work, intention is beautiful. Maybe you can set intentions for the day. What is my intention? To have an incredible day, beautiful meetings, an amazing podcast that goes well, and we're super happy and excited. So intention with visualizations is great. And then, it can also kind of open up to a bit of spontaneity and creative flow. So, like you say, you'll start with, okay, every intention to every interaction is powerful, but, too much of anything is not good. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So you're going to naturally swing to one and do it consistently, but just make sure you're giving yourself space to also flow a little bit.
Yeah. 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 That's so important. And let's say call it like pura vida schedule time, where there is
Yeah.
no specific things planned. Like I just let it flow, not too many intentions, and hopefully, let's say I feel like I'm a very creative person. Like I like to create, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I need that space for that creative to come for me.
Yeah.
So
Well, for you, for instance, you're a very, teachable person. So your teachability index is really high, which means you like to learn something and apply it like crazy until it
mhm,
becomes subconscious competence, right?
yeah,
So which means you're going to practice that, intention thing with every single conversation you have until it becomes a little more natural. And
yes,
then it
exactly,
will start to,
yes,
but that's your process. So know what
mhm,
your process is, but definitely speaking, when you're doing any of this work, it's essentially the conscious competence part is you do it until it becomes second nature. Once it becomes
yeah,
second nature, the flowiness and the spontaneity also kind of comes with that.
yeah, 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 yeah. I agree with that. I agree with that. So yeah, like I would love to know just from you, like how is like your relationships and sexual life shifted since you've been implementing all of these things we talked about today?
Significantly, I've learned to, I always wanted to be able to communicate where I'm at and what I want,
Yeah.
in a safe environment, as well as have all of my partners feel safe. It's extremely important for them to feel safe, but for me to feel safe as well. That's also one of the biggest things, which I think isn't talked about. Men need to feel safe. And that was one thing for me. I've been through a lot where I've opened things up and it's really messed with my bodily functions with other women and this and that. And basically what ended up happening through all of this scenario is I learned that, holy shit, I need to feel safe in order for me to let go and feel safe with my partner.
Yeah.
So for me, what I've learned is the communication part, that for me to fully express myself, I need to feel safe as well. That's my vulnerability part right there, right?
Yeah.
And then the relationships I'm having are not ending badly. It's not, oh, I'm with this person, I haven't communicated properly, it's ended, now the relationship's fucked. Peace. You know? I would say 90% of my relationships, are extremely close. They're my sisters. I love them. my spiritual sisters, like they're incredible. So we will connect, and I will always communicate that I'm not perfect by any means, and because we're living in this human experience, but I'm going to try and communicate as best as I can. You know what I mean? So, and then through that process and through my communication of where I'm at consistently, my partnerships now are always, thank you for communicating. Now I'm more aware, and we can continue this beautiful relationship, whether it's a friendship or otherwise, without it having to be destroyed, just based on communication.
Yeah.
Instead of me being scared to be like, hey, listen, I kind of want to see other women while we're seeing each other, but I'm not going to tell you, so I feel guilty. And then you're going to find out, oh, it's going to implode because I haven't communicated, right? So now imagine me communicating, hey, I don't want to lose you, but I definitely want to still stay true to myself and explore with other women. This is, where I'm at, for example. If you're willing to, go on this kind of journey with me, I think it would be beautiful. But again, it's 100%, up to you if you want to continue. And then it's like, okay, cool. Well, thank you for being honest and building a container of safety. And, let's come up with some agreements, and maybe we want to continue or not. So then it's, oh, okay, well, Kyle's doing X, Y, and Z. Oh, well, I know because Kyle told me, We have a conversation, we have clear communication, and then it just makes it so much more seamless and more clear.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make it, it's not always going to be super, just FYI to everyone out there. When you're doing this, shit's still going to come up. You're going to get triggered, things will happen. You'll constantly be in a space of like, oh shit, like my communication is going to get way better. I'm learning again. I did something really bad. Now I learned to communicate this even better. Like it's a constant learning curve of communication. And preemptive communication, which is huge. So it's good. It's powerful, but take it slow and realize you're going to continually learn, and to give yourself a break from not being perfect and communicating perfectly all the time.
Yeah. No, I mean, I resonate with that, and that's so important for us, man, to be safe and express that. So key, and sometimes we are so scared for that. But setting an intention in life and relationships with this safety, I think is like very important. And what would be like, in your opinion, like one red flag, one or more, let's say 1 to 3 red flags that we can see in our partner? That's a sign that we need to do something about it, either open up the relationship or close it and go somewhere else. Like, what could be like, in your opinion, like some clear red flags that we need to be aware of?
So the question is, what red flags would we be looking for in a relationship if we need to have a conversation around splitting up or opening up or anything like this?
Exactly. Yes.
I don't want to call them red flags because that's, again, I feel like it's labeling in a way, because red flags aside, it's communication, So if your partner's, maybe doing something that is new, that you're unaware of, and it's maybe triggering you, and you're like, oh, I'm not really sure what's happening. Like, this person's now watching porn, they never used to watch porn, or whatever the case may be. Have the conversation around. Hey, so I notice you doing this, or I notice you're feeling that. Like, let's have a conversation around it. Like, what's the backing there? Are you feeling satisfied? Would you like to make love more? Is there a different way which might turn you on? Or, do you want to spice things up in a different way? Let's have a conversation around it. Are you feeling bored? Okay, well, let's chat about it. Either it's something that is happening within your life, or it's something that's happening within the relationship that we need to assess. So it comes through, like, if you had noticed things in your partner that change and shifts, have the conversation around that. And create the container and say, hey babe, do you have 15 minutes? I just want to chat about something. And you start the container. This is something I've noticed. I'm just curious. I would love to know more, because it's causing maybe a little bit of insecurity in me, or whatever the case may be, right? And that's what
Mm-hmm.
Katie mentioned, that you creating a container of safety and you creating a container of openness. So the
Yeah.
more we do that, the better, right? And remember,
Yeah.
it might be one thing where your partner's like, my kind of rule of thumb is if it's one thing once, whatever, let it go. If it's something that's consistently happening, then that's something where you can say, okay, hey, this is something that's more consistently happening. I would love to, dive into a little bit more of this through the conversation.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then that's like, okay, so now it's warranted because it's happened more than once or twice. And now I can start to kind of say, okay, cool, this needs to be assessed.
Yeah. 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 Man, I love how you're reframing the red flags. Like I was trained, in a way that, oh, that's a red flag. It's not good. Get the fuck out. Like this is like how I was trained, which
Dude,
is
yeah.
like, an escapism is like fear of conflicts, fear of, again, feeling safe and expressing those things. And I love how you're reframing it. So always having a conversation about that and see
Mhm.
where things are not falling right, and then potentially see if our partner is open to for some sharing or for some expressing, because at the end
Yeah,
maybe there's something not expressed there.
yeah. Well, that's it, dude. Okay, so the red flags, in my opinion, are a great little sales tactic for relationship coaching in general, in my opinion, right?
Hmm.
3 red flags that shows X and 5 red blue flags that show X and la la la. Like, it takes us away from having a fucking conversation, right?
It's true. It's true.
Learn to have a conversation with your partner,
Yeah.
right? Learn
Yeah.
to create a container in which your partner can receive the information, which
Yeah.
is, so say your partner gets triggered every time you say, hey, can we have a conversation? Say to your partner, hey, love, if I want to come to you with something that I want to speak to you about, and how would you like me to ask? How would you like to
Hmm.
receive it so you feel comfortable when I want to have a serious conversation? How would you like it? Because then you're putting it in their ballpark and going, oh, okay, cool. Well, babe, I would like it if maybe we don't do it at night. I prefer in the morning. And, maybe you can tell me before breakfast that you want to have a conversation. And then after breakfast, we can have that conversation. And it goes like this. So then you're kind of joining both parties into this, and you're saying, okay, hey, you're also in charge of this conversation. You have
Yeah.
sovereignty too,
Yeah.
and I'm asking consent
Yeah.
in your own ways. Now we can have that conversation. So there's always a way to create a container to have the talk, which is powerful and potent. So again, staying away from labels, just going straight into conversation, by creating a container.
Yeah. Yeah. But I love it, honestly, man. Like that's like it's beautiful. And yeah, man, I've been learning so much with this interaction with you right now. I would just like want to ask you just one last thing, and then we wrap up. Like, what is, like, let's say, a book or a course or a workshop or anything that anyone here interested in having we're talking about want to go a bit deeper?
So, okay, so I think a good book, even for women as well, is called The Way of the Superior Man, David Data.
Hmm. Yeah.
You know, he's he's like the OG, in my opinion, of understanding, feminine and masculine energy within all of us and how it relates to the polarity in relationships,
Yeah.
right? Of how it's, okay, well, you're in your masculine, you're in your feminine, it looks like this, how do we dance within it, understanding where our partner is. Our partner might be in their masculine, so maybe it means I got to kind of jump into my feminine a little bit and flow a little bit easier, you know?
Hmm.
So learning a bit of the dance within the relationships and understanding the polarity within relationships is powerful. So I would say David Data, he gives you, he's so good with just explaining how it works. So grab the book. It's super powerful. I'd say that's your first book, and you can start to get into, the archetypes of man and so on and so forth.
Yeah. Yeah. Loving. Beautiful, brother. Let's see if there's anyone here that's got some questions for you, like anything. Guys, I will be opening here for like really a few minutes of questions. Kyle, he knows a lot. Like for me, every time I talk to him, it's like I need to either
That's
take
Zara
notes or do
Gray.
something.
Zara
So
Gray, what's up, girl? Okay, yeah. Please, guys, ask me if you have a question. And then, I mean, this is, I think, one of my first live Facebook's things.
Is it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I've
I
done it
mean,
before, but this is a little bit more, intricate in what we're discussing.
yeah, yeah.
So
I
it's
mean, how
great.
cool is
Okay,
that?
great.
You can talk about what you love, and there are lots of people like live listening to you right now. And then actually, this is gonna be recorded, and people can listen to that every time they want.
Dude,
How cool is that?
it's
And they're
so
gonna
dope. It's
feel
so
your
dope.
fucking message, you know. And I want you to express that. I want you to be in a space, in a container where you can express that. So, like, so glad. So it seems like we don't have any questions. Kyle, you have no idea how grateful I am that I met you. And I thank you so much for being here, holding space, and like, yeah, inspiring us so much from this balance on the masculine and feminine. Really looking forward to see you again here in Osara. And yes, if you have any few words that you still want to share, let us know. If not,
Hmm.
we're going to wrap up.
Yeah, bro, I'll probably just share some gratitude. Gratitude for you. You're looking so lovely and bright. So I just want to share some love and some gratitude your way. Thank you for bringing me on your podcast slash Facebook Live. And yeah, brother,
Yeah,
continuing the journey and just growing all the time. So really, really super grateful. Aho.
yes. I hope, but anyway, this is Instagram Live. Live on Instagram. Yes.
Totally. I love it. Instagram Live. I mean, you see what I'm saying, dude?
And so
I love
Facebook is
it.
like,
Totally. Oh
hey,
my
but I
God.
love you, brother. I love you. See you
Brother.
soon, and sending you much love. I hope.
Much love, brother. Love you. Peace.
Peace.